Hello, YouTube and X. It's your main man, BTM here, bringing you back to the BTM Crypto News Network. So thanks for joining. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit your main man up with a super chat. Just trying to keep the lights on here on the BTM Crypto News Network. But we got some good information for you today. I was watching a video on X, and it is AWS and Ripple working on a partnership, right? Working to integrate the XRP Ledger. So we're going to get into that and look at some more XRP information and updates on this Friday. Go through more XRP news updates, trying to get situated here. And let me know if you guys heard or seen any other XRP news. XRP took off and then it came down for us to pick it up. So it slowed down slightly. But I do think XRP is going to run again real soon. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So let's see here. Start the screen share and see what we can see. This is our sponsor, Caleb and Brown. Caleb and Brown sponsors the BTM Crypto News Network. So if you are new to crypto and looking for a crypto exchange and a brokerage, they are combined for your brokerage and exchange, so they can help you hold your crypto, help you understand the crypto landscape. They do self-custody it, so you don't have to worry about losing your keys or your seed phrase and getting locked out of your crypto. So for a beginner, it's a good place to start, and you also get that one-on-one support and brokerage. Thanks everyone that's already signed up and everyone else that is looking at BTM Crypto News Network to understand and keep current with the crypto market. Happy Friday, let's go. So this is the crypto bubbles. So this is Friday. Looks like a mixed market. Metals up 2.3, osmosis is up 1.2, KCS is up 0.8, which is KuCoin. ICP is up 0.6, Moonhands up 0.7, Archblock is up 4.5, ZBCN is up 3.9% on the day, down 0.5 on the hour, up 20% on the week, up 5.3 on the month, and up 242 on the year. Definitely gonna have a AMA catch up later. I did have that posted live at 6. Make sure you come back and join that if you are ZBCN. Nautilus is up 7.6. XPR is up 4.8. What is this? Down 0.5 on the hour, up 20.9 on the week, down 0.4 on the month, and up 151 on the year. CVX is up 1.3. Alchemy Pay is up 8.1. Cato's up 4.1. Rangers up 2.8. Dog with a Hat's up 5. Organize up 1. Safe is up 2.1. Tiles up 5.5. Core's up 1.5. Wow. World Mobile Token, something we're going to check out too, is up 17.7. Down 0.2 on the hour, up 28% on the week, down 14.3 on the month, and down 81.2 on the year. So definitely plenty of room to grow there. Let me know in the comments you guys want to start talking about that as well. Tron's up 1.1, MOG is up 0.8, Zan is up 2.2, Hex is up 3.8, Caspa is down 1.1% on the day, 0.1 on the hour, up 2.2 on the week, down 4% on the month, and down 60% on the year. What up, Mambo Land? Thanks for joining. Thanks for supporting the BTM Crypto News Network. What up, Agent Zeke? I think Zeke. Been checking that X page out. I might come over there and get some information. Maybe we can do a video or two for you guys. But let me know what you think about that as well. So this is, where were we? Looking for Bitcoin. So Zcash is down 3.7 on the day, 0.9 on the hour, down 13.8 on the week, up 3.9 on the month, and up 731% on the year. So where is Bitcoin? Okay. So Bitcoin is here, down 0.8 on the day, none change in the hour, up 0.4 on the week, down 2% on the month, and down 4.9 on the year. We're at 90,300. So it's holding steady above 90, which is good, but we will see. World Liberty Financial is down 7.5. Canaan Network is down 6.4. XCN is down 6.4. I'm actually looking for Ethereum. Lithium is down 10.5. So this is Ethereum, down 1% on the day, 0.1 on the hour, down 1.3 on the week, down 7.6 on the month, and down 7.3 on the year. How's it down 7.3 on the month? So anyway, it's back at 3,079. So it's holding above 3,000. Also, barely, but it's hanging in there. So what up, Silver Days? BTM Crypto News Network. What is going on? Oh yeah, Zeus, I'm tripping. Agent Zoo, eating my lunch while listening. No problem there. Just make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Hit your main man up with a super chat if you can, please, and thank you. Just trying to keep the lights on here on the BTM Crypto News Network. So Solana is down 1.4 on the day, up 0.3 on the hour. Up 3.2 on the week, down 0.1 on the month, and down 31.1 on the year. So over to the XRP, our favorite crypto cross-border payment mechanism and tool to utilize the blockchain. Down 0.1 in the hour, up 2.3 in a day, up 3.9 on the week, down 1.8, up 1.8 on the month, and down 12.3 on the year. I got all kind of tied that time. Keeping it moving. Let's see what we got. Close this out. Oh yeah, I want to play this quick video. Tell me it's still here.
Here's something I have to admit.
I was actually supposed to do this first. I am tripping. Well, let's see here. Bring it back over just a wee bit and see. So let's run this. This is, of course, your boy Da Vinci. XRP to $20 USD each. I think it's doing more than 20, but let's see.
About XRP. It's going a lot higher. Now, although I hate XRP and I think it's a bad idea as a cryptocurrency, I have to admit that according to technical analysis, it's going a lot higher than $3. How much is XRP going to be in the future? Well, I think it will get as high as $20 or more. Yeah, I know. Crazy, eh? Here's something I have to admit about XRP. It's going a lot higher. Now, although I hate XRP and I think it's a bad idea as a cryptocurrency, I have to admit that according to technical analysis, it's going a lot higher than $3. How much is XRP going to be in the future? Well, I think it will get as high as $20 or more. Yeah, I know. Crazy, eh? Here's something I have to admit about XRP. It's going a lot higher. Now, although I hate XRP and I think
So shout out to Jeremy Da Vinci on the XRP. So I don't know if you guys like it or love it. If you're with it, you're not with it. Either way, XRP will continue to push forward. So this is one of the articles about Amazon, AWS Bedrock AI, and how it could help scale XRPL. Amazon Bedrock is Amazon's web service, fully managed generative AI platform that allows organizations to build, deploy, and operate AI applications using multiple large language models, which is the LLMs, through a single API. Instead of training models from scratch, Bedrock enables teams to apply AI to existing data, workflows, and infrastructure with enterprise grade security, observability, and governance. Wow, that's actually pretty interesting. I didn't even know that. I need to take this back to my outcome. Um, Key capabilities of Amazon Bedrock include foundational model access for reasoning, summations, and code analysis, knowledge base with retrieval arguments generators, RAG, augmented generation, to ground AI responses in trusted internal data, agent-based orchestration, allowing agents to perform tasks such as querying logs, correlated events, and producing actionable diagnostics. Native integration with AWS like CloudWatch, um, S3 Lambda, and Graph database for large-scale data analysis. How Bedrock AI could support XRP scaling, operational, not consensus. It's important to distinguish between ledger level scaling, consensus speed, throughput, and fees, and operational scaling, monitor reliability, engineering, and velocity. Amazon Bedrock applies to the second category. Oh, so it's mainly just a monitoring tool. Okay. Faster network monitoring and incident resolution. XRPL is a globally distributed network with validators, nodes, and applications generating massive volumes of logs and telemetry data. Traditionally, diagnosing issues across such systems can take hours or days and require deep expertise in XRP C++ code bases. By using Bedrock-powered AI agents, ingest XRP node logs, automatically query and correlate anomalies, and cross-reference issues with relevant actions of the XRPL code base and protocol, Ripple engineers can reduce investigation and resolution times from days to minutes. Faster recovery improves network uptime, which is a critical prerequisite for large-scale institutions. And yes, these guys are paying big money for uptime. So increasing uptime is what you want. And if there's logs that can do that, that is definitely good for XRP and Amazon, right? Because they both kind of work together. But let me check something real quick on Coinbase. Check the XRP price, and then we'll go back over to X, where they dig a little deeper into that scenario. There's a video that the developer actually put out. So currently XRP is down 2.02% to $2.08. So they're still holding above the $2 range, which is good. They're holding at that resistance. Market cap is 126.4 billion, down 2.02%. 24-hour trading volume is 3.63 billion, down 24.54%. Crazy. So let's go over to X. So this is the BTM Crypto News Network. Make sure you sign up and stay current on events news, action, and updates as they come down, right? So you can hear and understand what is going on. And this is boom. AWS Ripple. AWS Ripple are exploring Amazon Bedrock integration. So it gets kind of technical, so I'll start that in a second. This is Japan and XRP blueprint is unfolding. Regulatory clarity, real world rails, and stable coin demand that just cited my alpha in the article. And I was talking to some people yesterday at a Bitcoin meetup, and the guy said, probably not going
Monitoring
to get anything from the Clarity Act till mid-year, maybe summer, or maybe the midterm elections. I was thinking it was going to pass at the end of the month. So we're going to have to put the brakes on that because they're saying it's probably going to be midterm or later in the year or at least summertime. So we'll have to wait and see. You know, it's always a hurry up and wait. But let's get to the article. They're talking to the developer, the senior engineer, and a solution architect. So let's run it, and I'll be right back.
My name is Aman Tiwari. I'm a solutions architect at AWS. In today's session, we are going to talk about Ripple and how have they built an AI-powered operations platform to transform their platform operations using AWS. I will now hand it over to Vijay, who's going to get us started.
That being said, us being in the Ripple platform team, monitoring the resiliency of the network is one of the challenging problem, right? For example, in a centralized ecosystem, it's very easy for us to figure out what is going on when we launch a new feature, where like you can just go to a database and you can execute a query before the change, after the change, you can easily figure out what's going on in the network. But when you talk about a decentralized ecosystem, particularly 1,000 nodes run by many independent operators like universities, blockchain institutions, wallet providers, financial institutions, it's very hard to identify how the network is behaving. As we in the RippleX platform team, we are in the trenches all the time in terms of making sure XRPL is more secure, resilient, and robust. Particularly in terms of solving these problems, one of the things we always end up having is like we rely too much on C++ experts. For example, like the whole protocol is written in 2012. It's a huge code base. It's all C++. So when an issue happens or when we want to monitor the network, what we generally do is like we get this whole huge volume of logs, and we try to make sense of these logs by looking at the C++ code. And it's so complex, we have to rely on the C++ experts for us to make the understanding of what the pattern of the issues, right? So for example, I'll give you 4 weeks ago, there was a Red Sea cable cut happen. And some of the node operators in the Asia Pacific, they were having reliability issues, right? So when we got all those issues raised to us, we end up asking them, okay, can you give us the logs? Then we get all these logs, which are huge volumes in size, which is almost 30 to 35 gigs for a single node. And then we go to our machines, we take all those huge volumes of logs, we end up doing a cross comparison. And all these logs are debug logs. And if you know it's a peer-to-peer network, you get a lot of signals, cryptographic details, proposals, peer connections, and to make a meaningful summary of what's going on is one of the most complicated process, particularly when you're solving a production problems, right? So it could take almost 2 days even to just understand what's going on. And even those cases, like we have to rely on a C++ expert like core ledger team, who's an engineering team who does all this protocol development, for them to get involved and to make us a meaningful summary out of it. And logs are the gold mine of the information, and it plays a very critical role. And we've been doing this forever. One of the things that we wanted to change was like how AI can solve this problem for us, right? Why do we have to rely on C++ experts, where the whole world is heading towards English as a natural programming language? We started looking into AI as a solution where we can correlate between the logs and the code, and it can give us a meaningful summary out of it. That's when the whole journey of log and code correlation of solution that we started looking at. So that being said, this is probably the most lightweight, high-level design. You guys going to look into it. My partners who wearing the suits, they're going to come with the big guns of whole deep dive architecture. So if you are engineers, you're going to be in for a treat. There is a lot of good stuff that's going to be talked about. But on a very high level, I want to call out these 3 boxes, right? So the middle box, the multi-agent platform. So this is the brain of this orchestration. So where this is a foundational layer that we built leveraging AWS stacks. This contains 2 agents at this point, and we're also working on 3 more agents, which Hari would be giving us more detailed walkthrough. So this is primarily the orchestration layer where the agents work when a user sends a request via a chat interface. They make a code path of whether it can go towards the code analysis pipeline or a log analysis pipeline. So the second half, this is where the bulk of the data preparation happens. Since the code is an open source repository, so the log code analysis pipeline, what we do is like we have an everyday periodic code retrieval that is run from the GitHub repository. So every commit which goes into the develop branch, which gets prepared, which gets stored in a graph DB for us to make a meaningful summary out of it. Then we have log processing pipeline. Since we are talking about huge volume of log, which is almost 35 to 50 gigs for a single node, and Ripple almost operates like 40 plus machine in mainnet, that constitutes around 202 to 2.5 petabytes of data. So to have all these data ready and prepared, we have this log processing pipeline which runs every day, which makes it prepared for the whole agentic framework to make a meaningful summary out of it. So that being said, I'm going to call on Hari next to come and walk you all through a detailed architecture. Yeah, over to you, Hari.
Me on. Cool. Hey all, this is Hari Vignesh Rajendran. In the forthcoming slides, we will talk about the log processing pipeline, the code processing pipeline, and the graph RAG capabilities that we have built. First, let's talk about the log processing pipeline, which brings the nodes logs to CloudWatch. Raw logs from validators, hubs, client handlers, they are first brought into S3 using a separate workflow, which we have orchestrated through GitHub workflows using SSM. Once the data reaches the S3, we have the S3 event trigger triggering the Lambda function there, which looks into the file, gets the byte start and end of each chunk, and which also respects the log line boundaries and also the configured chunk size. And once these messages are derived, they are then put into SQS for further distributed processing. So these messages are then read by the log processor Lambda function. It actually retrieves only the relevant chunks from S3 based on the configured chunk metadata that it read. And it passes the log lines, gets the metadata out of it, and puts these log lines and metadata to CloudWatch. Now let's move on to the code analysis pipeline. So here we have 2 main repos, the RippleD repository and the standards repository. The RippleD repository holds a server software for XRPL ecosystem. And the second is the standards repository, which describes the standards and specifications relating to XRPL ecosystem to ensure interoperability between the XRPL and other applications that are built on top of it. Both repositories feed into our pipeline using Amazon EventBridge, which is a serverless event bus. Using EventBridge scheduler within it, we automatically trigger repository syncs on a cadence. So once a sync event arrives, the Git repository processor pulls the latest changes from GitHub, including the code and the documentation, versions them, and then stores into S3. Then comes the knowledge base ingestion job, the sync job, let's say, which pulls this data and puts it into Amazon Neptune Analytics vector store. We will look into this in more detail. So knowledge base by default in the backend, it configures the chunkings, embeddings, and acts as a vector storage as well. Okay, so now let's move on to the next slide. So we want to actually dive a little bit deep about the GraphRag capabilities that we have built. So we are not using the OpenSearch vector store here. We are using GraphRag. That's because it's really good at storing relationships across the code base. So I will detail that here. So we have the file stored in S3 now. The process starts by reading these files. The knowledge base sync jobs reads these files in, converts these files into smaller manageable chunks. Bedrock also, as you would know, that it allows multiple chunking strategies, fixed size chunking, and other LLM-based approaches. In our use case, we use fixed size chunking because it works well with structured content like code and documentation. So once these chunks are derived, they are sent into the Titan text embeddings v2 model, which generates the embeddings, which is the actual semantic meaning of the text. Yeah. So also you would notice that there is a box underneath Titan text as well. So this is the extract entity step that happens. So what it does is it looks into the chunks, derives related entities being function names, code calls, and the classes, modules, and other domain-specific identifiers. The Claude IQ V1 model gets all this information, and this information is then used to build a lexical graph. So this lexical graph uncovers all the relationships across our code base. So this is what makes the retrieval very fast and very efficient for us, utilizing a very less context window for the LLM. Okay, so once these chunks, embeddings, and entities are retrieved, they are then sent to the Neptune Analytics graph store. This is where the graph is built. The lexical graph I talked about is nothing but nodes and edges, which has links to the entities, source chunks which belong to which source document, and the cross-document relationships are all stored here. This Neptune graph database becomes a powerful retrieval layer, after all these things, magic that happens in the backend for us, which is managed by Bedrock. So what happens when the query comes in? So the code analysis agent using an LLM, which is hosted in Bedrock, first gets this context from the knowledge base along with the entities. Then it is sent to the LLM for generating responses, which is not only grounded in semantics, but also on the code relationships as well. Okay, we also have applied another, let's say, significant improvement as well. So we have re-ranking layer built on top of this GraphRag workflow. So re-ranking is a powerful enhancement to RAG. It adds a second and a more intelligent pass over the retrieved documents, while the vector search gives us the top matches based on the embeddings. Re-rankers like Cohere re-rank that you see here evaluate the relevance dynamically at runtime. This means that the model reads both the query and each candidate document together, allowing it to understand nuance and give out better results for the LLM. So here's how Ripple applies it. We first retrieve like a broadest chunk of data from knowledge base. We then give that to the re-rank model along with the user query. The re-ranker model then calculates a relevance score from 0 to 1, 1 being the highest score, and then it reorders the results, and let's say it returns the top 10 results back to the LLM. So now you get like fewer results to the LLM, but they are all very high quality, so that the context window is not affected for the LLM. So you still have more tokens to burn, essentially. So you can see this question here, why we have had the screenshot. I've asked the question about what log messages are defined inside a function. This actually forms the premises of the entire presentation here. So we need to find the right log messages to query in our log files. So you can see the source chunk that it shows is number 1, but originally without the re-rank model, it was actually number 4. Because of the user query that we gave it, and also the chunks that were retrieved, it was able to combine them together and give us the top results.
My name is Aman
So
Tiwari.
shout out to the Amazon development team, kind of walking that through and understanding the process there and kind of a deep dive. XRP is built to connect grad Gensinghouse knows it. XRP isn't about who holds it, but what it links across the financial system. Real value comes from moving money at scale, not speculation. That's the line behind the noise in the infrastructure. And that's what I was actually talking to several folks about, right? It's the actual process that's moving the money, guys. And there's big money in just moving money, right? You don't have to do transactions, you don't have to do processing. If you can move a large amount of money, right, it's going to be very profitable. So let's see what he has to say real quick. Be right back.
Payment flow that might be going from dollar to Mexican peso, and you're holding a dollar, you're selling that dollar and buying XRP, you're moving that XRP across the XRP ledger to, let's say, Bitso, who's here in the audience today. You're selling the XRP and you're buying Mexican peso. By enabling that liquidity to move from dollar to peso in real time, you're changing how that oil is greasing the engine of correspondent banking. So for us, in a world of hype, in a world of experimentation, in a world where people talk about the opportunity and really the speculation of digital assets, we feel like XRP is the only digital asset really poised to solve a problem at scale, a global payments problem.
So, like always, like there's been a plan for XRP the whole time to do a payment problem, not an actual solution for transactions, but a whole payment processor. XRP has surged 14% since the year started, and if it holds above $2, it might never dip below this level again before hitting our bullish targets. Bulls face major challenges breaking through the $3.60 to hit the $5 range. The moment you can't spin. In this video, Brad Giselhauser wasn't predicting 2026. He was explaining what's already happening. Institutional players, ETFs, regulatory clarity, real world utility. No timelines, no hype, just facts unfolding in real time. So let's kick this video off real quick. I will be back. Let me know what you guys think about the content so far and about the Amazon and or actually AWS, the AWS partnership with XRP, the XRP Ale and Ripple. So let's play this video real quick and I'll be back. Let me know in the comments. Comment. Say something. Anybody, everybody, somebody. Let me know what you're thinking. And let me shoot this or start the video.
Best is yet to come. Brad, why do you think the bears are back in the market?
Well, why the bears back in the market? Look, first of all, thank you for having us. I think this is an incredible event. It's my first time to join this event, but hopefully look back to being next year as well. And obviously good to see you both. I think crypto has gone through cycles. And when you have risk on, people are excited. There are, now you have kind of a risk off moment. There's uncertainty. I personally will echo some of the things Richard said. There are so many macro factors that are continuing to provide tailwinds for this industry that I think as we go into 2026, I don't remember being this optimistic in the last handful of years, where you do have, as Richard said, regulatory clarity in the largest economy in the world. And I think people underprice this. 22% of global GDP is the United States. And this is a market that has been really openly hostile to crypto for 4 or 5 years, or maybe longer. And now you have that has changed significantly pretty quickly, but the institutions are still catching up with that to some degree. You saw Franklin Templeton on stage here. You saw BlackRock on stage. Just this week, I think Vanguard has now opened up. Vanguard historically has said, we won't touch crypto. And now they've had a massive sea change. That's just one of many things that are creating those tailwinds. And so I'm super optimistic about the year ahead. The last thing I'll say on this, which I think we'll also probably all agree about on this, is we are also seeing real world applications where it's not just about the speculation. You're finding easier to use interfaces so that crypto isn't just about the speculation. It's about solving real world problems. And to sustain that long-term optimism, that long-term bull market, I think you're going to see more and more of that.
What's your take on this too? Do you think the ETF floor was overhyped?
Definitely no. Look, obviously what you were describing is all data correct, but I think you got to zoom out a little bit further and realize that this ETFs didn't exist because of the regulatory problems in the United States. They didn't exist. And, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, over $700 million have flown into XRP ETFs, which is just it's pent up demand from institutional investors, from investors who want access because they don't want to custody themselves, what have you. But look, again, if you zoom out to the macro level, the total ETF market, only 1 or 2% of the total ETF market is crypto. I will bet anybody here that a year from now, that will be more than 1 or 2%. There's going to continue to be inflows. And yes, you can take a snapshot of time and say, okay, there's a billion left Bitcoin ETFs or whatever the data you cited a moment ago. But if you zoom out a little bit further and say, okay, over 2026, do we really think crypto ETFs are only going to be 1 or 2% of the total ETF market? No chance. And so that, again, it's one of those macro tailwinds where Ripple sits in a position where we see, particularly from our Ripple Prime, the prime brokerage business, we see a lot of interesting activity where institutions that have been on the sidelines, maybe because of regulatory clarity, maybe because of risk aversion, for whatever reasons they've been on the sidelines, they're getting involved. And they're starting small, and they're going to walk, then they're going to crawl, then they're going to walk, then they're going to run. And I think it's going to create a lot of tailwind.
So this moment in the market hasn't necessarily spooked institutional capital. That's what you're saying?
Definitely not.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit more about the institutional adoption here and what you're seeing in terms of real world payments as well on the stablecoin side?
Well, I mean, the stablecoin point you're making particularly, I think you are absolutely right that as people kind of went risk off, they stayed on stablecoins, which is indicative of, as Rich was describing, the utility, the 24/7 nature of a stablecoin, but it's also trust, where maybe years ago they might have said, I want to get into a fiat that I trust even more, but people are recognizing the stablecoins can be stable and, easier to manage. But look, this region in particular leaned into regulatory clarity early. Ripple launched a stablecoin just over a year ago. It's just passed about $1 billion market cap, but now it's also been approved in whitelisted in Abu Dhabi as well as in Dubai and the DIFC. It's good collateral on various platforms from a lending point of view. And I think that the tailwinds just on solving real problems and good collateral that's easy to move and is more flexible and can be, moved multiple times a day even, that wasn't possible before. And I think we're going to see a lot of unlocks that, when Ripple thinks about this, and it's an honor to be up here with these two, Like we want Solana to do great. We want Binance to do great, because I think we're still bringing people into the ecosystem. Stable coins are one way of doing that. There are going to be lots of other applications, some that Ripple builds, some that are built in the Solana ecosystem, and some that Binance builds.
Speaking of the big guy, President Trump in the US, let's flip it over and talk about what's happening stateside, because Brad, you've also said in the past that the US regulatory environment is, and I quote here, hostile. So do you think that's changed for the better? And what are you seeing right now in terms of the regulatory roadmap in the United States that will ultimately impact your business as well?
Look, I think one of the things that Binance has done incredibly well, the numbers that Richard's talking about, 300 million people, they're bringing people into crypto. We all want, there's an echo chamber that we all experience of people in crypto. But the amazing thing about the passionate pioneers that are here in this room is they've been in. We just want that audience to grow. And I think what you're seeing happen in the United States with regulatory clarity, Richard earlier referenced the Genius Act. The Genius Act is regulatory clarity for stablecoins, and you're already seeing more institutional interest in stablecoin payments. Ripple purchased a company called G Treasury recently, which has visibility into over $10 trillion of payments from their corporate customers. And the number of those customers who are already, the acquisition closed Monday. The number of those customers that are already approaching us interested in leveraging stablecoins for the flexibility, for better yield, for as a trusted resource, because of that clarity, people are leaning in. We don't yet have, obviously Ripple went through a long lawsuit with the US government, and XRP received regulatory clarity from the federal courts. We have been championing, and I know Team Solana has been championing regulatory clarity for crypto broadly in what is generally called the Clarity Act in the United States. There's still, forward momentum on that. I don't think it's going to happen this year, which, the President Trump has kind of championed. But, I think sometime in the first half of next year, we'll see passage of legislation, which will continue to unlock and create more tailwinds for the whole industry. I'll go out on the limb and I'll say Bitcoin 180,000 December 23rd or December 31st, 2026.
All right, where's the prediction market around that now? It'll be live in 2 seconds.
The best is yet to come. Brad, why do you?
So shout out to John in that video. What up, Yazin? What's going on, fam? So keeping it moving, this is, if BigRock launches the XRP ETF, the market is not ready, buckle up. That's what I was thinking too. It should be something pretty big, right? When the market starts to pump is when they're going to do it. And I probably think they're going to wait for that Clarity Act to pass. And as Brad mentioned, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. People are saying at the end of the month, maybe. I don't think so. By March, one of the dates I have was March, and then somebody mentioned by the midterm elections. So we will see. This is what Brad Ginsenhauser knew years ago is not obvious to everyone. XRP was never just another token. It is the infrastructure for a new financial system and speculation. This was chapter 1. The real story is utility and adoption. So let's see if we can play this video from a couple of years ago.
Amazon today, last time I checked, could only support payouts in 19 different currencies. Amazon is, I think one of the $2 trillion companies, and yet Amazon, their marketplace, which is a huge piece of their business, they can only pay out in 19 currencies. And that is a hodgepodge of integrations around the world, ranging from India to China to the EU. Now, if you think about the implication of that to more tangibly a business, we have had conversations with other networks, other marketplaces like Uber. Uber knows that if they can pay their drivers more frequently, the retention of their drivers goes up. Uber has a big challenge in that people join to become drivers and then they churn out. That means that Uber has to go acquire new drivers. That's not a great thing. Now, some of you probably took a taxi here this morning. When you got out of the taxi, you either paid them in cash or you paid them with a credit card, which frankly would settle in a couple days. In contrast, when you're using Uber, the Uber drivers get paid every 2 weeks. Why is it they get paid every 2 weeks? How can we reduce the friction so every time you get out of an Uber, the Uber driver gets paid? Uber wants that to happen, and despite being obviously a major player, you know, the ability, the friction even associated for someone like that is challenging. Our vision is to truly enable global payments such that you can plug in with one API, and whether you're seeking liquidity, whether you're seeking a payment into a payment network, whether you're seeing a payment to a bank, to reduce that friction such that it is real time and extremely low cost. By doing that, we think we can let RippleNet truly scale to serve a new set of customer demands on time and on demand in real time. Again, we are all, you know, witnessing a generation grow up that are sometimes pejoratively described as millennials. They expect real time. They've grown up with the expectation that this is going to be a real time experience. They can click on their phone and have ice cream delivered in 30 minutes. I do love ice cream. Let's not criticize that. So we can make them low cost. We can truly get a dramatic reduction in the error rate such that there are not failures, and deliver an elegant experience both to banks and to their customers.
I think that is one of the big positives for XRP as well. BlackRock said it's $13 trillion BlackRock CEO live on CNBC that crypto will replace traditional finance. Not all cryptos are ready. XRP is built for it. And like he was talking about here, right? The infrastructure and adoption is coming. Let's watch Think real quick.
Getting to, you know, invest in markets through, let's say, crypto. They're investing in it, but now we could get them into the more traditional long-term retirement products. So we look at that as the next wave of opportunity for BlackRock over the next tens of years, as we start focusing, moving away from, you know, traditional financial assets by repotting them in a digital manner, and then having people stay in that digital ecosystem, getting to, you know, invest in markets through, let's say, crypto. They're investing in it, but now we could get them into the more traditional long-term retirement products. So we look at that as the next wave of opportunity for BlackRock over the next tens of years, as we start focusing, moving away from, you know, traditional financial assets by repotting them in a digital manner, and then having people stay in that digital ecosystem, getting to, you know, invest in markets through, let's say, crypto. They're investing in it, but now we could get them into the more traditional long-term.
So it'd be more than just crypto as a token. What up, Crypto Pete? Huge again, definitely. Welcome, Ripple's National Trust Bank. And I didn't see where there was actually, I think that was just a document. I don't know if it's actually been approved yet. Stuart Alvaretti, COL of Ripple, has confirmed that the EMI license was granted to the United Kingdom. Yet another step forward, proud to announce the approval of the EMI license and crypto asset registration from the UK's FCA. Let's go. Evernorth has entered the major partnership following plans to foster XRP adoption. And I thought there was a streamer here real quick, so I gotta close the refrigerator. So let me run over here. So this is Secretary Scott Bazin says we're not removing all regulatory obstacles for crypto. Looking for, I had a video, it's a 7-minute video here somewhere. Just trying to pull that up real quick. I guess I didn't have it. All right, so let me check with
The Supreme
this
Court
is
in the United States of America is getting ready to create an absolute shock wave across the entire crypto market, XRP included. It's time for you guys to buckle up and get ready because, yes, once again, it's about to be a crazy week for cryptocurrency with a lot of volatility and a tremendous amount of opportunity, in my point of view. So first, I just want to talk about what's going on because the U.S. Supreme Court is expected to release its ruling on the legality of President Trump's tariffs on January 14th. Now, originally, many people thought that it was actually supposed to be today, but the Supreme Court has issued a statement saying that they're delaying this until at least next Wednesday. And so we're going to see exactly how that plays out. Now, the odds for them ruling against Trump's tariffs are actually quite shocking. A lot of people are betting on this in the betting markets and have looked through the legality of everything, and things are looking pretty dicey for the tariffs. And so I wanted to really dive deep into what it actually means for the markets if the tariffs are ruled against. What is going to be the economic impact? What is the likely impact going to be on XRP, digital assets, and even the stock market? We'll cover all of that in today's video. And what I will say is if you guys are ready for this, I do think this is actually a pretty tremendous opportunity because it's going to mean some incredible things for the economy in the short term. Before we do get into the meat and potatoes of the video, all the important stuff, I want to mention we only have 20 spots left for this week inside of my Discord community, so you guys can join in. It's free to join. You can see all of my trades, and you can see exactly what I am doing right now to take advantage of these markets. So when I'm done with this video, make sure that you go to my website, LeviCryptoCrusaders.com, and you follow our easy 3-step process to join into the Discord, to join our 5,000 other members who are already taking advantage of this to change their lives. All right, so let's talk about the news. Let's get into it. There's been a lot of crazy stuff that's happened lately, but President Trump also just posted an unreleased jobs report data 12 hours before it was released by the U.S. Labor Department. Whether this is illegal or not is not very well known, but I don't think it really matters. It's just 12 hours. And he said at 8:20 p.m. Eastern that President Trump posted a picture showing private sector job growth of 654,000, a very clear indicator that the markets are actually headed into a positive future. And a lot of people are pretty excited about this. You can also see that there's fewer government jobs. So the Trump administration is still trimming a ton of government jobs, lowering federal spending by a large margin, while the private sector is growing, which generally is a pretty good sign, in my point of view anyways. Taxpayer dollars being put to better use and private sector growth, something that we all love to see. But I think the most impactful thing on the markets and what will actually affect job growth and inflation far more than anything else is the U.S. Supreme Court and what they're deciding to do with the legality of President Trump's tariffs. Well, the current odds of President Trump's tariffs being ruled against is about 69% right now. In other words, there's a 69% that a lot of the large tariffs that Trump put on are going to be overruled, they're going to be taken down, and Trump may even have to refund a lot of the tariff revenues that they've collected over the last few months. If that is the case, then that is billions and billions of dollars taken away from the federal government, given back to the countries that had to pay these tariffs. And a lot of people don't really know what that means. And that's what I'm hoping to explain for you guys, because it will be very impactful on the markets. There's absolutely no denying that. But one thing I also do want to point out is Trump has already made a statement on what he's going to do if the U.S. Supreme Court rules against him. What he has said is that he is going to issue a new type of tariff, which is legal. It might not be as high as the current tariffs that are in place right now, but he's going to go ahead and do that. And so not all of these revenues will necessarily be lost, but a large part of them will be. And so let's talk about that. If the Supreme Court rules against President Trump's use of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA, to impose tariffs, a decision that has not yet been issued as of January 9th, 2026, despite anticipation, it would likely invalidate or limit those tariffs, leading to several probable effects on the markets. The first short-term reaction would be a stock market boost and also a crypto market boost. Removing or reducing the tariffs could drive a rally in equities, particularly for import-dependent sectors. And yes, we have seen, without beyond any reasonable doubt, that Bitcoin, XRP, they've been very widely also affected negatively by tariffs in the short term. So people are expecting a stock market and crypto market boost in the short term. then this will be followed by volatility and uncertainty, where markets could see initial swings due to the ruling scope, whether it's a full rollback, a narrowed application, or a grace period for adjustment. The Forex markets, they might weaken the US dollar slightly against trading partners as this is all playing out. And then there's also going to be a tremendous amount of bond market pressure where treasuries might face downward pressure, higher yields, if the ruling prompts fiscal stimulus to offset any perceived economic drag, complicating the Federal Reserve's rate cut trajectory and exasperating the budget deficit. But the longer term impact here is, yes, the Fed is going to be more and more likely to cut rates and actually growing their balance sheet due to the fact that the price of goods and services will be going down, and they want to avoid deflation in this event. So it does entirely depend on how big the rollback is for these tariffs, but if they are the maximum admissible amount, then that's going to mean that the US economy is likely going to be in a place where it's in deflation if the Fed doesn't cut rates instantly. And this means that the Fed is going to have to aggressively expand its balance sheet, which we should all know what that means for XRP. That means explosive growth for XRP. And so when we look at the broader US economic impact, tariffs act as a tax, raising household costs by an estimated of $1,100 to $1,400 annually in recent years. Striking them down could cut this to $300 to $400, freeing up spending power and boosting consumer confidence. And businesses could see rebates previously paid duties, reducing operational burdens, and potentially also spurring new investments. And then we'll also have the growth and inflation effect, where overall GDP could get a modest lift from cheaper imports with lower inflation pressures as supply chains normalize. However, this might be offset if the administration pivots to alternative tariff authorities like the Section 232 that I mentioned earlier, or the 301, which the White House officials like Kevin Hassett have indicated could quickly replicate similar policies. So in other words, yeah, I think an initial rollback is actually quite likely, but what happens beyond that is very uncertain, and it's very likely these guys are going to put more tariffs on using different section authorities, tariff authorities, and so that's something to look out for. But I think the important thing here that we all need to be paying attention to is the Fed was already planning to do a couple different rate cuts this year. And with tariffs being rolled back to any capacity and being less prevalent to any capacity, means that there is a higher and higher likelihood that these rate cuts are going to be happening sooner, and the Fed is going to be expanding their balance sheet sooner. Both of these two things means the potential for more liquidity to come into XRP ETFs, and the rest of the crypto market are rising astronomically every single day. And so next week, next Wednesday, is actually a very crucial day, because this is a day that we start to get more clarity on what the future of tariffs actually look like. And I gotta say, it's pretty interesting. We can see already that whale activity is actually hitting a 3-month high, as many people are starting to anticipate the effects this is going to have on the economy. They're transacting over 100K in terms of their transaction size, and there's over 2,802 transactions for XRP. So I do think XRP whale activity, increasing exponentially right now is no coincidence, and I do think this is only going to continue from here. So this is something we definitely need to be ready for. If you want to be ready for this, I think the absolute best place you can be is in my free Discord group. So make sure you go to Levi Crypto Crusade.
So the updates that Levi had mentioned, we'll find out next week. Do you think that will push the volume or the value up of crypto? Just trying to see if the sound's actually working. So, okay, for some reason, the video's not coming back on, but that was, I guess, all for today. with the updates coming and with the integration with Amazon. If that does finally pan out, I think that's going to be another good catalyst for XRP. What up, Yazim? What up, Crypto Pete? Thanks for joining. And Texas Guns. Yeah, Silver Days is here, bro. I should put Silver Days on the payroll, bro. He's one of the hardest working guys in YouTube currently. But big shout out to everyone that supports the channel, Crypto, Silver Days, Yasim, and everyone that is always here. Thanks for your support. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'm not sure what's going on with the video, but at some point, probably get another machine next week. So hopefully that'll iron out the rest of the issues we are having. One of the greatest financial firms just launched launched tokenized deposit services via Ripple. Prime institutions are turning the key. So one of the world's largest financial firms just launched tokenized deposit services via Ripple. Prime institutions are turning the key. Today, our partner at BYN Global launched tokenized deposits for institutional clients, bringing the promise of the digital asset directly into the banking system with Ripple Prime as the early adopter. That would be the last article. I was going to go into this. Evernorth and Doppler Finance collaborates with Power Institutional XRP infrastructure. I think there's also an article here, but I'll put on the page. So we got to wrap it up. Ripple backed Evernorth to expand the XRPL adoption. Evernorth, the newly formed 1 billion digital asset treasury backed by Ripple and SBI, has formed a collaboration with Doppler Finance to build out institutional grade treasury and liquidity frameworks for XRPL. So I think that should be good. And XRP or Evernorth and Doppler Finance announced Thursday a new tie-up that is meant to build out necessary plumbing for streamlining the institutional adoption of the XRP token. The main aim is to turn popular altcoin into yield-generating asset for corporate treasuries. Where have we heard that before? Evernorth is newly public digital asset treasury company that holds over 1 billion XRP. It aims to make it easier for Wall Street to gain compliant exposure to XRP with backing from Ripple and Japanese finance behemoth SBI. But thanks for joining. We got to shut it down. We'll be back at 6 o'clock for the Azibic network updates from the AMA yesterday and any other news. But thanks for joining. And I'll probably try to pull a CASPA update tonight and maybe Turbo. So make sure you keep checking for those notifications. Let me know if you're not getting the notifications. But as always, let's get back to the money, guys, and stay dangerous. It's your main man BTM signing out. Happy Friday. And remember, same bat channel, same bat time. Peace out. Miners out.